If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And Dr. Maxwell will tell us about our fine young folks that's going to do the pledge.
Young children.
We have 3 fine young people with us tonight from Brown Elementary. We have Miss Carly Beatty, we have Miss Ava Beatty, and Mr. Anson Johnson. And so they are going to lead us in the pledge, and we've got our flag right over here. Okay?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Take a bow.
Okay, so we have Miss Ava. Ava, what grade are you in? Kindergarten. Ava is in kindergarten. Then we have Miss Carly Beatty. Carly, what grade are you in?
3rd grade.
3rd grade. And then we have Mr. Anson Johnson. And Anson, what grade are you in? 1st grade. Well, you 3 did a fabulous job tonight. Thank you all so much. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Miss Carly and I were discussing books before the meeting started. She's got very, very good recommendations if you're looking for a good book out there. So.
All right. Next item is the welcome to visitors and our student representatives. I believe neither one of them's here tonight right now. I think one of them may be a little bit late. And then we've also got Miss Julia Timpson. Appreciate you being here. And you got anything you want to say to us?
It's almost May.
Well, the one time I didn't call on you, you had a whole speech ready for us, and so I wanted to make sure I gave you time.
It's almost May. Here we go.
All right. Thank you. Okay. And then next is the special recognition, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Maxwell.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Inman. We have several to recognize tonight. First, if I could be joined by the SMHS boys basketball team, those that were able to be here tonight.
So we all know how proud we are of these gentlemen and the work they've done on the ball court and what they do off of the ball court. And we wanted to tell you all tonight how very proud we are, and we're looking forward to Murphy Center next year, finals. I may be retired, but I'll be there. Okay, so that's my expectation. We have a certificate tonight. I know some are away at baseball and other activities. First, we have Patrick Barnes. Okay. Matthew Bilbrey. Woo. Race Boston.
Baseball.
Honor Bowman. Cade Capps. Jaden Eldridge. Brady Lane. Blake Holt. Nathan Houston. Jordan Manis. Preston Mayberry. Dylan Whittenberg, and of course our head coach, Mr. Neil Capps. Assistant coach, Jess Raby. Mr. Matt Marino, who I'm sure he is.
He had sports duty.
Well, Coach Capps, would you like to tell us a little bit about these gentlemen?
Well, it's really easy to talk about this group. It's a special group of young men. I hated that our seniors are not here. We had a really special group of seniors, Dylan and PJ. They were exemplary in how they acted and how they comported themselves in front of these men, young men each and every day. Just wonderful leaders, and these guys were just meshed really well together. Good group of young men, easy to coach. And as we went throughout the season, they really made me look way better. I always tell people, you know, coaching's pretty simple. It's the players, and it's very little about the X's and O's, but the Jimmys and Joes. And I had a really special group to work with, and my staff did a wonderful job this year, Coach Reagan and Coach Torino. So, you know, I'm a benefactor of having just really good people around me.
Well, Coach Capps, we appreciate you and your team, and if we could get a group picture here, just let's give them another round of applause.
Everybody look here.
Don't hide, Coach Reagan.
Also, thank you, Ms. Maxwell, and all board members for doing this. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, guys. Y'all did a great job.
Also tonight, we were going to honor our two student representatives that sit on the board, Ms. Sophie Turner and Mrs. Ellie Meninci, and they are both recipients of different awards that are being awarded tonight. They are both seniors, so should they come in a little bit later, we will present them with their gift for the time that they have invested this year with us at board meetings. So hopefully they will be here soon.
And she's in our play, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that is where she is.
Thank you, Ms. Bibb.
I'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, let me get to my notes.
We also have other special recognitions that I would ask when I call on these individuals if they would stand. First, we have Miss Christy Van Winkle. Miss Van Winkle, if you will stand. Miss Van Winkle was the Principal of the Year for Cumberland County. She was selected by her colleagues. And we received news last week that she will advance as a regional level semifinalist for the Upper Cumberland as Principal of the Year. Thank you, Miss Van Winkle. We appreciate what you do for the kids. Anytime you talk to her, she'll say what's best for kids. Next, we have Dr. Rebecca Farley. Dr. Farley, if you would stand, please. Dr. Farley was our Supervisor of the Year, selected by colleagues, and we received word last week that she is also a semifinalist for the Regional Supervisor of the Year for the Upper Cumberland. And this is her second time. So we know that she's going to go far. So we are so proud of you, and thank you, Dr. Farley, for your work. As we have done the last 2 years while I've been here, we have recognized educators when they have gone on and received their doctorate. Tonight we have Dr. Justin Whittenbarger. Dr. Whittenbarger, if you would please stand. Dr. Whittenbarger is in the midst of his 23rd year as an educator. He has been an educator with Cumberland County Schools for 20 years. He served 4 years as an ELA teacher at Cumberland County High School before he helped open Stone Memorial High School and remained there for 9 years in the same capacity. As an assistant principal, he was selected to be part of the second cohort of Gassel Fellows, which was a year-long fellowship in collaboration with the Tennessee Governor's Office, Vanderbilt University, and the Tennessee Department of Education. He served 2 years as the assistant principal at Homestead School before being named as the principal at Stone Elementary, where he remained for 4 years. After Dr. Whittenbarger's second year at Stone Elementary, Stone was recognized as a reward school by the Tennessee Department of Education. Additionally, Stone was able to maintain a level 5 last year. Dr. Whittenbarger currently serves as the principal at Pineview Elementary. The 2 pillars of academic press and a culture of care and support are the foundational pieces to Dr. Whittenbarger's leadership and philosophy. His dissertation title was A Phonology Study of the Experiences of Teachers in Addressing the Social and Emotional Learning Needs of Students. Congratulations, Dr. Whittenbarger. And that is all, Mr. Inman.
All right, thank you. Next is roll call. Mr. Safety.
Here.
Ms. Paris?
Here.
Ms. Hale?
Here.
Mr. Brock?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Ms. Hamby?
Here.
Ms. Boston?
Here.
Ms. Carney?
Here.
And Chairman is here. Let the record show all are present and counted for. Okay, next is the declaration of conflict. Mr. Pat.
Board members, Tennessee Code annotated Title 49, Section 202 defines relative as a spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, nephew, niece, or any person that resides in the same house as you. Any of you that have such a relative, please raise your right hand and let the record reflect Mr. Inman, Mr. Brock, and Ms. Boston. Now, to each of you, hereby certify that the votes that you make tonight will be in the best interest of the Cumberland County school system, regardless of the impact it may have on the employment of your relatives.
I do.
The record reflect all of them.
All right, next item is the approval of the March minutes and the special call minutes.
Move to approve both.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Ms. Carney and a second by Mr. King. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is the approval of the agenda. Mr. Safety?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to approve the agenda. However, I would like to remove from 16D CCHS Band Director's platform. I'd like to remove it from the agenda tonight at the request of Bruce Johnson, the Band Director.
Second.
All right, got a Mr. Safety with the motion and Ms. Carney with the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And next item is the acknowledgement of elected officials. Ms. Mall, there you are. Thank you for being here. She's District 9, yes. I think she's the only elected official here, but thank you very much for being here. Okay. All right. Next item is community comments, and we've got two people that have signed up. The first is Miss Sarah Brown. And if you would please, when you get to the podium, just tell us your name and your address, and then once you get that done, then you'll have 3 minutes to. And let me please remind everyone that's speaking tonight that please do not bring up any specific personnel people, okay? Because we cannot discuss personnel, not that we don't care about personnel issues, it's just that we don't have any say-so over it, okay?
Yes.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Sarah Brown. I'm from the Pineview area, and I just want to talk about the community and the way that the leadership from the Pineview has kind of brought the morale down. I mean, my son has a hard time going to school because he's talking about the morale is so low. Everybody's just kind of, blah. We've had some issues that I don't think have been. Now with the lady back there in the corner, I think is it Dr.
Dr. Farley. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it has been wonderful, has been excellent. That's who I've contacted. But
Okay.
she's had to handle some things for me with some leadership there. But the leadership at that school is really lacking, and I feel like that you all have thrown our school kind of out to the wolves. If you look up Pineview, it says it's a Roane County school. It is a Cumberland County school, and Cumberland County treats it as a Roane County school. And we kind of get the second hand-me-downs from everything. It's the red-headed stepchild, as you could say. And I would really like for people to take Pineview serious, because we take our children serious there. And kind of help us out, man. We're getting a lot of stuff thrown our way that, like you have some leadership that can't make it at other schools. Well, guess where they send them? To Pineview. And we have to deal with it. And our kids are just as valuable as everybody else in Cumberland County. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next is Miss Amber Cook.
Could we turn the make sure that microphone is turned on? It is on?
Okay, all right, now, Ms. Cook, same thing. Once you just tell us your name and your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes. And please remember, we can't talk about individual personnel issues.
I
Okay,
gotcha.
thank you.
I'm good. All right, so I had a whole speech plan, and, you know, it's almost trashed now. But what I will tell you is I'm here also to represent Pineview. Pineview is an amazing school, and I think Ms. Maxwell said it really good. What was it? Refresh my memory on your
It's
statement.
one of the best kept secrets in the county.
Amen. It truly, truly is. Pineview, you know, it's a small school. You know, I think it has 158 students, give or take, 180 with staff. Earlier I got a phone call saying, listen, I know what you're coming for ultimately, and you're going to be shut down real fast and in a hurry for what you're here to try to accomplish. Not really accomplish, but more or less bring attention to what's going on at Pineview. From the leadership at Pineview is very lacking, to say the least. And there has been letters sent. There has been tons of phone calls. And I'm here to make sure that Pineview has a voice. I love that school, and I will stand behind that school and fight for that school at every meeting we have here. Because that school is worth it to me. That community is worth it, and those kids are worth it. And I refuse to stand back and not be heard. I've called, I've left messages, and I'm going to continue until something is done. Pineview was a successful school. Actually, right here in my notes, it says that, let me find my spot. In 2020 and 2021, that Pineview was the composite of 5, which led it to becoming a reward school. So Pineview grew a couple of years ago. I don't know that we will see that this year. If we do, I'll be shocked. I have children in that school. I have friends in that school. Pineview is a family. Pineview is a determined little school that will fight it through everything that it has. It's really an inspiration to this county if you stand back and you look at it. But I will stand here and I will fight for this school and refuse to back down until our school is put at top again for this county. Our teachers, everything. I'm tired of it. This school is not successful no matter what anybody is telling me right now. I'm not going to listen to that. Our school right now is suffering and it needs to be acknowledged. I don't want to be angry about it, but I do refuse to stand back and be ignored. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, could you please give your name again and your address for the record?
My name is Amber Cook, and my address is 142 Days Road. Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Cook,
Yes.
I've got the numbers right here. There's 158 wonderful students at Pineview.
Yes, they are, and I appreciate you taking the time, but I want to stress how important this school is. I feel like we're getting brushed to the side. The matters is not being acknowledged in the way it should, but we will find out soon to come. If our letters, phone calls that are private, that certain people know what's going on in our school are being acknowledged. If not, I will be back here, I promise.
All right, thank you.
May I respond to?
Yes, Mr. Safety.
First of all, Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Cook, I want to let you know that morale will fluctuate, and it's the job of the director of schools to examine the reasons and the causes for that. Pineview has been a shining star for this Board of Education. I know because I've been on the board way back to 2000, and I know the growth that Pineview has had. In fact, when the opportunity came to dissolve Pineview and integrate it with Crab Orchard, this board voted not to do it because we know that Pineview has a wonderful family of parents. So I just want to let all of you recognize that this board supports Pineview as well as all other schools. They're all priority schools to us because the students are our priorities.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I will tell the community that.
It doesn't feel
But
like.
again, it will show very soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Safety.
Can I say something?
Yes, Dr. Maxwell.
So I would like to say that the Board of Education has a complaint policy, and we're going to follow that policy. Anonymous letters are anonymous. There is a policy, and we'll be glad to have copies for anyone that needs them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Maxwell. And I will say, you know, as a board member, whenever I receive something that is not signed, if it's anonymous, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. So just please tell everybody out there that they want to make complaints and everything, tell them to please, you know, put their name on it and stuff and everything. So, yes,
Can I
ma'am.
say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. What if it's not anonymous? What if there's absolute names on it? What if there was a teacher, it could cost us 4 to 6 teachers. What if a teacher has put her name on a letter and sent it in? What happens then? What if a teacher is actually contacted and complained? What happens then?
Teachers have a complaint procedure as well
Yeah.
that they can follow. So, yeah, if they, as long as they go by the proper procedures, then there should be no problem.
Which states they should consult with their principal first and bring the issue to the principal. And that's all I have to say right now.
And if the issue isn't resolved with the principal, then there's a particular amount of time that the issue that can go to the, what's the next step after that?
Supervisor.
The supervisor, and then so on and so forth.
Can I ask something? What if your principal's a screamer? What if he yells at your staff in their face?
Well,
What if things happen?
Well, I'm sorry, but that's an issue that the director of schools will have to take up, okay? Like I said, it's not that we don't care about personnel issues, it's just that this board is not, by law, we're not allowed to tell the director of schools anything about personnel issues. And so all we can do is pass policy and hire the director of schools and hire an attorney.
Gotcha.
Okay, did I see somebody down this way wanted to talk? Okay, no, I thought I saw a hand up over here. Okay. All right, thank you, and we'll move on. Next is the school board reports. Mr. Safety, the TLN report.
all right, well, the TISA did pass today, okay? I'm going to pass this around. You all have seen this before, if you don't mind. It is the district allocation for Cumberland County, which approximately shows $8 million more for the 2022, 2023, 2024 year. So what I wanted to do was, after each of you received this document, I just wanted to take a few seconds over to explain what I learned about it, and I don't know much, but I have, at least looked at it. On the first page of this handout, okay, do you have one? Pass this down to our beloved representative
I will let
from
her have mine.
TEA.
I will share.
Okay, never mind. Dr. Maxwell, do you need this?
I've got one.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is talk, first of all, about the base, okay? The base element. So this is the first time the state of Tennessee has gone and created a base amount that goes to each school. So this $6,860 is what we are going to get as the base per student, okay? So there are 6,881 students, and if you multiply 6,881 by 6,860, you get $47,000. This base is made up of 46 items that correspond to the BEP. Now, I looked at those list of 46 items, and they're on the internet someplace. They are detailed. Apparently what is going to happen is, or what has happened is they've taken that BEP formula and then taken our BEP amount provided by the BEP, excluding funding from the county, and they compared it to other states around us. And then they came up with some formula, which I'm not sure of, that is comparative to the other states around us. This value of $6,860 places us 15th in funding in the United States. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the, I think what's interesting is the per pupil expenditure. Okay, they don't use the per pupil expenditure as the basis, although it may be a single component. But if we took a look at the per pupil expenditure and compare it to what we received 2 years ago, or even last year, the per pupil expenditure is $9,377 compared to the $7,800. So we're seeing a significant increase in our per pupil expenditure. The base, as I said, was consistent across Tennessee. Now, underneath the base, there are the weights. And in this handout, you have the economically disadvantaged, the concentrated poverty, small school versus sparse school, and then you have unique learning needs 1 through 10. Well, that weight, items 1 through 10, are actually identified at tennessee.gov/education/Tennessee DU funding. Okay? Consultation, direct services for less or more than 9 hours a week, direct services for more than or equal to 9 hours, but less than 14, direct services for more or equal to 14, but less than 23 hours a week. These are all services for the disadvantaged or special needs students. And these special needs are shared with the county, so that the funding amount you see there, our maintenance of effort will be included, or not included in this, but will be added to that. So our maintenance of effort is about $19 million. So when we take a look at the funding, what you'll see is we currently are getting $47,209 at the top under base, includes the county BEP funding, and then in addition to that, those weighted items are allocated to students with special service needs. So for instance, if we have currently the number of economically disadvantaged students in Cumberland County is multiplied, each student receives 25% of the base, which gives us $2,599, and you multiply that by the number of economically disadvantaged students to give us the dollar value. Under concentrated poverty, 5% of the funding will be a part of that base, so you multiply 5% times 6,860, and you multiply that dollar value by the number of students that are categorized in that area, and then you come up with that dollar amount. You can see that on the very right-hand column, the money's allocated for those special services. And finally, the direct cost is what the state pays without impacting maintenance of effort. So these are the direct costs that the state will give, and we don't have any responsibility for paying for through our tax rate, our county tax rate. K through 3 literacy, 4th grade tutoring. CTE is a special category, and it receives funding from other areas as well. And then post-secondary assessment, the bill that passed will allow two payments for ACT or SAT test, and pay for those costs of testing seniors or This some interesting facts that you need to know, or don't need to know, but some interesting facts. Over 100 local leaders and organizations have endorsed the TISA funding. So everything from the Chamber of Commerce to school systems, I don't think we have to worry too much about whether or not this is legitimate with all those resources, with all those people and organizations sponsoring it, and it certainly is an indication that it's going to do good for Cumberland County and the state of Tennessee. On the second page, this is the caveat. On the second page, if you look at the future year TISA projections, suddenly you realize that if you look at the fiscal, if you look at the TISA totals, you'll notice that it increases from 55, this is BEP plus grants, 55 million to 64 million. However, above that, the ADM, you see that for the fiscal year 23, which is this coming year, we get $6,889 per student. And if you go all the way to fiscal year 2030, it doesn't change much. There's nothing in here that accounts for inflation. There's nothing in here that accounts for any other cost of increases in goods, things that we purchase. On the other hand, this projection is based on a decline in student enrollment. It doesn't account for an increase in student enrollment. So we really don't know if we have an increase in student enrollment, how it's going to impact our funding. And if you take a look at page 1 and you take a look at the weighted items, if there are changes in those weighted items, then we could either receive more or less money. So for the first year, I think the government, Tennessee, will guarantee that there's no, for the next 3 years across the state, there'll be no change in maintenance of effort for anybody across the state. No change. However, in our case, we have a decline in enrollment, so of course that isn't going to affect us. But when we do have an increase in enrollment, then we should see some changes. And I asked Casey to, if she had any other opinions that she'd like to talk about. I know you said you still would like to know how that base is calculated. I don't disagree with you, but at this point, it's moot. It's happening right now. So it'll be a play after fiscal year 23-24. We'll just have to see what takes place with the funding. And thank you. I know it took a long time, and I apologize, but do you have any questions, Teresa?
Of course I do. Why would you think I wouldn't? And you made the comment that, you know, the first year we get the TISA funding, we're going to be okay. $8 million extra is a great deal of money for our county. And then you said, but wait till the year after that. In looking at this, the projections are that funding's not going to go down for Cumberland County. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, if there's a decrease in any of these areas, in any of the areas for unique learning, there could be a decrease.
Okay.
However, the nice thing about this is this does not include federal funding,
Right.
which will be another, how many dollars do we get in federal funding? Do you recall offhand? Several million, right?
Right now, I would say maybe around 21 with all
21 million. I mean, there's
money.
There's money, and our school is going to, our students are going to benefit from it.
I
Okay.
was just, you made me a little nervous with that comment, and I'm going, well, it would be hard to budget reoccurring of expenses if the next year that is based on students and then it goes down, you know, that would affect our budget quite a bit. So, no, you've done an excellent job. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm sorry it took so long, but
Thank you, Mr. Safety. Ms. Casey, you said 21 million with ESSER. Do you know approximately without ESSER? Because eventually ESSER is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So typically, it's going to be around 3 to 3.5 million.
Okay, that's,
And that will come with a supplement, not supplant rule as it does now for those title programs and the different CTE, the part we get from federal and the federal SPED money that we get, all of that combined.
okay. That's kind of what I was thinking, it was in that area. But I just want everybody to understand, it's not going to be 21 million every year because, like I said, ESSER is going to end in a couple years. Yeah.
And what's really nice about this, all of these monies, they're all going for students, in some way, student support. And that is, we have a chance to improve and enhance tutoring. We have a chance to improve teaching methodologies, and we're supposed to get a 3% raise for teachers this year, or maybe the following year, 3%. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a good start. You said 4?
It was 4.
Yeah.
That's what I understand.
I read an article,
Proposal.
maybe it was a week old, 2 weeks old, so I don't know what, but I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Safety. My concern is I don't see anything in there for RTI. And-
Oh, yeah, that's included, RTI is included in the base.
Okay.
Yeah, it's included,
Well,
RTI too.
because right now, they demand that we have an RTI program, but they didn't send any money for it.
Yeah,
So,
it's in there now.
okay, thank you, Mr. Safety. Next item is the board members' report from training. Anybody got anything to report? Nope. Okay, we'll move on. Next is the legal report. Mr. Patton.
Yeah, the only change in pending litigation that I'll report to the board on is the Hester versus Cumberland County Board of Education case. There's been a motion to dismiss filed in that case, and it is set for June the 9th, and that's in Putnam County at the Justice Center. That'll be at 9 o'clock. Other than that, there's no change in pending litigation. Things are moving along.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next is the director's report. I'll turn it over to Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Inman. The first item that I have on my report is the new Colossus Academy Co-op Athletic Agreement. This is what comes to us each spring, and Mr. Patton is here if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Patton? We renew this every year. I don't think there's any difference in this one, is there, Mr. Patton? No. Yes, we need a motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Carden, and Mr. King beat you by just a second, Mr. Safety.
That's fine.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, the next item that we have, this is the yearly grant participation request. This is for FY23, the federal programs grant participation.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Carden.
Hurry up.
and Mr. Brock beat you by just a second. All right, is there any discussion? Yes.
What's the amount of this grant?
These are the grants that will be applied for the for this FY23, and we have different allocation amounts, and I don't know have they all been dropped yet, Ms.
They
Randolph?
have not all dropped yet. There will be some that will not drop until, historically, it's been July, August, end of July, August.
So we're granting permission to,
Apply.
To apply.
no, this says request permission to accept funding for and to participate in the following grant programs.
My motion stands. We're gonna get the money, let's take it.
Well, the way I understood it, it was a request for us, for them to be able to, like we do every year.
To apply.
To apply.
Well, that's different than permission to accept.
Well, that is true.
Once we apply,
Yeah.
we are granted those, then we have to accept them. So
That needs to be amended
That means, yeah,
to
we need to-
request instead of
we need
accept.
permission to apply first.
Is there any problem with that?
No.
Okay.
Mine does say request. Still, am I missing something?
It's in the letter.
Accept.
Yeah, it's in the letter.
It's
Okay.
request to accept.
Okay, well, in the proposal on here is a request,
Accept.
no, right here, it says federal programs grant participation request. That's the way I look at it, that's what we're voting on. I understand what you're saying.
The letter.
Right, but
So we're voting to
we're
accept
voting
it?
to let them apply, basically.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it. Is that correct?
Is that what the motion reads?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, that's the way the motion reads, okay? So I've got a motion by Ms. Cargy and a second by Mr. Brock. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have an acceptance for North Cumberland Elementary Kids Club grant, and information was provided in your packet, and Ms. Casey Harris or Ms. Kim Bray can answer questions that you have regarding this.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept?
Second.
Okay, we've got Mr. Brock with the motion, and I'll say Ms. Hamby with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
The
Okay,
next item we have is a request to accept the bid for the CTE construction house from CCHS. And again, you have the information in your packet, and Dr. Maddox is here if you have any questions.
Move to approve.
Chair, move to approve.
okay. Got Ms. Cargy with the motion and Mr. King with the second. Is there any discussion?
I've got a question.
Yes.
How many square feet was in this house?
Let me take a look at the folder, Mr. Stafford, and I'll tell you.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask
Well,
you before.
looking at it, it looks like about a 1,100 or 1,200 square foot. That's what it looks like, but I don't know for sure.
It is 1,324.
Wow.
I was close, yeah.
Is this what we've got in it?
No.
Okay.
We've got a total of, the minimum bid was 26,500. That
That's all.
covers the total cost of the materials plus the advertising we had to place in the newspaper.
Was
Okay,
there-
that's perfect.
Is there, I seem to remember several years back, these houses were selling for $60,000 and $70,000 and $80,000.
Mr. Safety, those were the days that we built it on site with the property, and it had everything inside it. This one is just a shell, the way I understand it. Is that correct?
It's just Mr. Safety, and Mr. Evans is right, when we had a previous, when Mr., when Freeman was there for so long, they were allowed at that time for years to go out to site and build a house, and it was pretty much a turnkey operation.
Yeah.
It was electrical, plumbing, sheetrock, everything. This house, if you go inside of it, it's nothing but the studs and walls.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. That explains it. I appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item that we have is the annual planning calendar.
Okay.
And Mr. Emmett, I believe you wanted to.
Yes, I've got a couple of things. On the annual planning calendar, next month, we're supposed to do the Director of Schools evaluation. Since Dr. Maxwell is going to retire, it's my recommendation that we don't even fool with it. I don't see the point in taking up the time to deal with it because she's leaving.
Are we not required, Earl?
Just say, are we bound to do it?
I think we are.
I think it's,
Yeah, for TSBA, we might
This is
be.
kind of a unique situation. I would have to look at that.
well, it's in the contract,
Yep.
but
Well,
I think that,
but if it's statutory, that's the other
well,
question.
that's true. Now, I don't know about that, but,
And if it's in the contract,
well, I think we can, the contract's amendable by both groups.
both parties.
And the
If-
evaluation form can be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but now, I'll tell you right now, if we're going to do an evaluation, I will not be part of an evaluation that is anonymous. I've thought about it, and, you know, we are public officials, and everything that we do is supposed to be transparent, and I'm just not comfortable with doing one that's anonymous. Now, we can do it by computer if Mr. Patton can figure out a way to,
Well, didn't we do it by computer last year?
yes, but it was anonymous.
We did.
And,
But that's how the board voted to do it.
yes. But like I said, I will not be part of an evaluation process that is anonymous, because like I said, I just don't feel like it's fair to our constituents. They need to know exactly how we vote, and they need to know exactly how we evaluate. And, but now, but like I said, I don't see any point in us doing it. I think Mr. Patton can look it up to see if it's statutory, whether we do it or not. And if it's not, like I said, I don't see any point in everybody wasting their time. Yes, Mr. Safety.
Is it important for our TSBA recognition to do an evaluation?
I just know it's in the contract. I don't know if it's statutory or not.
I don't know, Mr. Safety, but.
I'll call up Ben Torres and
Okay.
ask him if we're required to do an evaluation.
Okay.
But not required, but as part of the TSBA.
Board of Distinction.
Right, Board of Distinction.
Okay. All right.
I mean, there's nothing that prevents us from modifying the evaluation.
We're not a board of distinction anymore, so it wouldn't matter. That ran out, and we made no efforts to renew that or to maintain the board of distinction. So it's not gonna matter on that one.
I think we need to change our procedures to make sure that doesn't happen again.
I think you're correct.
Thank you.
Dr. Maxwell, do you want to be evaluated?
I serve at the pleasure of the board.
Running for governor now.
You never know what I might run for.
Okay, so Mr. Patton's going to check on whether it's statutory, whether we do an evaluation or not. And like I said, I just don't feel like we need to spend any time on it if it's not. And but Mr. Patton can get back with us on that. And also, Mr. Patton's contract is up in June, so it will be on the agenda for May. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up so you can look at his contract, and Mr. Patton can look at his contract and decide if there's any changes that needs to be made or anything like that. So
Contract committee need to go over that?
it would probably be better if the contract committee did do that. So, Ms. Boston, could you get a meeting together and then so we can put it on the May agenda? And like I said, I just wanted to make everybody aware of it. And I've talked to Mr. Patton, make him aware of it so that we can go ahead and have it ready for him to sign if we're going to do that and ready to take over in June again. Because I believe I want to say it's June 30th, but I'm not sure. I looked at it.
The contract has a provision in it that allows it to continue regardless, so.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Well,
Who drew
yes,
that contract?
it's June 30th, 2022 is when it ends. Okay, so we've got time. All right. And that's all I've got on the annual planning committee calendar.
And the rest of the information is for your information. And that's all that I have. I would like to remind everyone that our pre-K registration is Monday, May 2nd at the community complex, correct, Dr. Farley? I know there's been a lot of work go into that effort. And kindergarten registration is held at each individual school. So that is May 2nd. And before we meet, well, I mean, you may have a special call between now and then, but graduation is approaching. And watch for announcements on the website, and obviously the Chronicle will publish also, but graduation will take place at our 3 high schools before the next regularly scheduled board meeting. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Next item is request for competition funds. This is Crab Orchard competition. I think it's the archery is requesting funds. They're getting ready to go to state and hopefully nationals.
I'll make a motion, we approve 1,500.
Thank you. So here's, all right. Got Ms. Boston with the motion, Mr. Safety with the second. Is there any discussion?
They didn't specify an amount, I take it.
No, they didn't, but I'm sure they want the maximum. And I agree with Ms. Boston, 1,500, that's the maximum.
Is there a maximum? Now, Casey, I'm gonna ask, do you have any idea what we have in that fund, that line item?
I would have to look and see. I think we've awarded 2 or 3.
I don't think we've given out
I was thinking they only had 2.
Yeah.
the full, so it's in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely have 15.
So, okay, that's what I would.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, next is the school board committees. First up is policy committee, Mr. Brock.
Thank you. We have 3 policies for your consideration this month. They're policies 1.102, 2.8041, and 6.206. These policies have been reviewed by the policy committee, and they have a recommendation. And I will point out before you consider first reading on those, to look and see that one of them is being recommended to be passed on first and second reading. And that would be policy 6.206, and that's transfers within the system. And again, that's trying to stay as up to date as we possibly can to make sure that when we publish
Yes.
all of our preparations for the new school year, and to make sure that we do things right this spring in anticipation for the new school year.
This doesn't change much, does it?
It did not. The only insertion in there are the 2 words "at least," and I know that may sound like a very small thing, but if you're going to come up with a policy, it ought to be as accurate as it can possibly be. At least. Yes, and even then, hopefully this will not change next month, by the way.
Yes, that's our hope.
Okay, so we're going to vote right now on 1.102, 2.8041, and 6.206. And then we'll come back and do the second reading on that last one. All right, this has come out of committee, so we don't need a motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, Mr. Brock, ready to do 6 point, gonna do it again?
6.206, second reading to make sure that this is all in place.
Okay.
In preparation for the next school year.
Once again, it came out of committee, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item is the athletic committee. Mr. Brock, you got anything to report from it?
Nothing at this time, but there's always something brewing.
Okay. Mr. King, budget committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The budget committee met on April the 18th. Start off the budget season with an introduction. A lot of different things we discussed to get ready for the season, which is about to get busy. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, building and grounds is next. Mr. Safety.
There are 2 items that have been approved by the Building and Grounds Committee. One is for the Stone Memorial High School video board for the football field. And you can see that the band boosters, I got band on it. The football boosters have said that they will pay for the entire board, and it comes to $82,303.52. I think that is incredible.
I would like to insert right there, I commend them. I know some of them, and they have worked very hard for this.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so need a motion to approve.
You want to do?
Oh, no, we've already approved it, so.
Do you want to do it and the water easement at the same time?
Let's take the
You want
water
to do them separate?
easement
Okay.
separately.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so we're going to vote on the media board at SMHS. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Sapp.
All right, the second item is the media, excuse me, is the Homestead water easement. And I have asked our barrister if he would mind, have you approved this contract? Do you have anything to say about it?
I don't really. It's, I'm not, what we discussed, Mr. Safdie, is that I'm not a surveyor and I've not been out to make these measurements and everything, but from the wording and everything, it's an appropriate easement for what needs to be done.
Yeah, and if we don't approve it, the state would probably use eminent domain and force the school system, because this has to do with turning, getting rid of the triangle and intersecting 68 with 127. So I don't think we have much of a choice.
Nothing like that before, vote.
Nothing like alienating the Homestead community.
Okay, this came out of committee, so we don't need a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next is the Safety Committee. Ms. Tandy, if you got any
The only thing I have to report is we had a meeting and we discussed some safety kits and emergency kits that Ms. Marsha Polson is checking into pricing, and once it is, we will meet again, and then we will bring it on into the budget committee or wherever it needs to go to.
Thank you. And just for the record, I think that's an awesome idea, to have those kits available. But thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, next is the ESSER Committee. Ms. Cargy.
All right. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Maxwell and thank you everybody, everyone who works on ESSER. I mean, I know it's a volcano of paperwork, but these are once-in-a-lifetime funds, and I'm really excited that we're going to get to use them in some really great ways. You all got the booklets, the RFQs from the different agencies that had submitted. It's kind of a weird situation that we don't get to know what the pricing is. We only get to know what the qualifications are, and then the committee recommended that we go with Uplands. Couple reasons. When you're looking at everything being equal, because you don't know pricing, we appreciate the relationship that we have with Uplands. We appreciate that they're a local company and they're going to keep our money in our community. And of course, they've done outstanding work, and we believe they even have some drawings still for the auditorium. So we think so.
We've gotten started a long time ago.
That's right. So it was a pretty easy vote.
Uplands was involved in back in 2006 whenever the school system asked the county commission for money to build Stone High School, renovate central office over here, and was to build a auditorium at CCHS. Well, obviously the auditorium didn't make it, but they were involved in that as well. So they've got a head start on the drawings and everything. So
we're very, very excited that Cumberland County is going to finally get the auditorium that they deserve. And the ESSER committee recommends that we approve Uplands based on the RFQ.
All right. Coming out of committee, we don't need a second. Was there any discussion?
So the design that we have in our packet, is this the design that we're going with?
No.
At this point, no, ma'am. This was something we did back then. We're going to revisit the entire thing again. We'll go back in with the faculty and the staff. I want to also get over to Stone and go back through there with the faculty and staff, tell me what was good, tell me what wasn't good. So we'll continue to improve upon what's there. This is what was done back in 2006, and it's something we've worked with Mr. Hall over the school off and on for many years. So, no, we're going to revisit it. This just was a start, so we've got a leg up. But, no, we'll go back through the faculty and staff and bring everything back to you all for approval.
The way that we understand it is that the state requires that we have the request for qualifications that are reviewed, but all it is their qualifications, and then we choose somebody. But we still, as the board, have the right, after we get the bids and after we get the projections, we can change our mind at that point if that is not satisfactory to the board at that point.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I was just concerned because I looked all over this and I didn't see where it had restrooms in particular.
There will be restrooms, correct?
There'll be at least two.
Where are they? And I didn't know, were you gonna go back into the buildings? That's why.
No, they'll be up at the lobby. I think if you look at the plan, they're all at the front, off the side lobby. The plan is very, very similar to what's at Stone Memorial. So
Right.
if you've been over there, you'll feel very comfortable that you're
Beautiful.
something similar.
Well, I that was just my concern. I thought, what are they gonna do? Because I saw your blueprint here or your plan. I thought, where are they?
And there was a request for no flat roofs.
Yeah, you know who that came from.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, no flat roofs. And what capacity are we looking at? Are we gonna do like Stone, 1,200?
We're just, if I remember right, Stone was just shy of 1,200.
Yeah.
So we're looking at something very similar.
Okay.
Again, we'll go back through this from a budget standpoint, so we'll look at the funds again, kind of see how that works. But again, we'll stay flexible with it. But our goal is to be very similar to Stone.
Okay, thank you.
Again, let me say thank you. We
Yes.
appreciate it, and it's always a pleasure to work for our home board.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Ms. Casey has a comment.
Okay.
Ms. Casey has a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Casey.
I just wanted to point out the way this funding process works. Now that the board has selected Upland, the next step would be for us to negotiate. Now we can talk some numbers. And to expedite the process, if the board was comfortable with the director of schools, if it's in a reasonable range. I think the national average is about 6 to 8%. The fee, if it's in a reasonable range for us to go ahead and accept that, so we could move forward. If you wanted to consider that.
I think we'd be good with 6%.
Be good with 2%.
We have always reached an agreement with the board. I don't see that being a problem in this one as well.
Okay, well,
We need a motion. for that now?
we'll have to have a motion
I
for
was going to
that.
say, since it is in regards to finance or monies, I think it has to go to budget and then to us.
That'll be fine.
I'll have something to them next week.
No problem.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you, everybody, for working on that. Mr. Patton, you look like you've got something you need to
Well, I do
say.
have an answer for you, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay.
The statute, and I remember that there was a section that dealt with the evaluation, and it's in Title 49. At any rate, the section is that it's the duty of the board, it's under the duties of the Board of Education. What it says is that you should develop and implement an evaluation plan to be used annually for the director of schools. The plan shall include, but shall not be limited to, sections regarding job performance, student achievement, relationships with staff and personnel, relationships with board members, and relationships with the community. Now, I'm familiar with the policy language, and the policy language says the board shall annually review with the director's performance as director of the Cumberland County School District, director's progress towards goals established by the board and director, the working relationships of director with the board, the staff, the students, and community at large, and any other matters relative to the employment of director. The evaluation of director shall be completed by June 1st each year. As it's written in the statute, it would be my opinion that it's probably not required of the board. In a situation where your director has given a resignation and is scheduled to be done, but I think that would have to be something that the board would have to vote on because it is in your contract and it would be a deviation from your contract. So I think the board as a whole would have to agree to waive that evaluation, but otherwise.
I don't believe we can vote on that tonight because it wasn't on the agenda.
Put it on the next one.
We can do it. We can do it on the May agenda. We can bring that up, and then if the board so chooses to do an evaluation, then we can do it at that time. About the time she's ready to head out the door. Okay, but thank you, Mr. Patton.
Yes,
appreciate it.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
if if we use last year's evaluation, the same instrument, would we need to vote on it? Because it's a standing,
Well, no, we won't have to vote on that, but I'll bring it before the board to not do it. But we can't vote on that tonight because it was not on the agenda. And so basically,
it was on the calendar, though.
it was on the calendar.
We approved the calendar.
We approved the calendar.
Okay, so, well, guess we can go through that door. So then I'll make a motion that we do not do a director of schools evaluation due to the fact that she's going to retire in the end of June.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Discussion.
How
So,
did we get here?
Spartacus let us.
Well, Mr. Brock said that, we voted to approve the calendar, so
But
it was part of the agenda, so I said we can go through that door.
It was the FYI. The planning calendar was on here for the FYI, not to vote on.
We voted on
No.
No, we
We
didn't.
didn't.
No, we didn't, did we? We can't go through that door.
it. My seconds.
Yeah, so,
Now, what you can't do is come
But we're
in,
operating under
you can
the
come in,
2021-22 calendar.
You could come in on old
you can come
business
in
and do
doing old
this.
business.
okay,
I really don't care.
well, we'll wait.
And
We'll do it.
I will freely and publicly give my opinion of Dr. Maxwell any day anybody wants to sit and listen for a while, because I am an absolute admirer of hers.
Amen.
So I don't care if it is publicly, we attach our name to an evaluation or not.
Well-
But if it's something that we need to do, if it's something that TSBA would like, I mean, I don't care. Let's do it and get over it, or
and I
Not
make
do
the
it, because-
recommendation
Okay.
that we because she's retiring, that we modify the evaluation system to include an item from each heading that we've used before, and use the Likert scale from 1 to 10, or 1 to 5. I mean, we don't have to go through that 3 or 4 or 5 pages of evaluation. Yes.
We still need to wait until old business.
Yeah, we'll have to wait
We can
till old
discuss
business.
this At
Yeah.
that point and finish this up.
But we have a
Well-
motion on the floor, right?
I'll rescind my
They
motion.
rescinded
Yeah, no, I just now rescinded it.
Okay.
She rescinded her second, so I've got to rescind my motion. We'll take it up in old business, and then we can, thank you, Mr. King.
have to get you on that one anyway.
Okay. Next item is the contract committee. Ms. Boston.
Thank you. I would like to, the contract committee went over all of these contracts. I would like to separate out the director of schools draft contract, just so I can say a couple of things about it.
Okay.
But the aircraft agreement with the board and the city of Crossville, and the benchmark athletic, which that's just a renewal. The MOU on Mr. Holland's Opus and Cumberland County Schools, and volunteer behavioral. All of those came out with a recommendation from the contract committee. So they don't need a second, so I think you could just
Okay.
go ahead and call for the vote.
Is there any discussion on any of those 4 contracts that she just mentioned? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now we'll go to the Director of Schools draft
Director-
contract.
We looked at this, the contract committee, I think Mr. Stepp is actually here this evening. This was emailed to Mr. Stepp for him to review, to make sure he had some additions, subtractions, some negotiations, whatever. The only thing that is to be added, and Earl and I didn't get it added in time, is there is a military clause, because he is in the National Guards, and we want to make sure that he is able to take his military time, but that's actually statutory.
It is.
So, I mean, I don't think we could keep him from that if it was or were not, but that will be added in here. Other than that, the contract is presented as it reads. Came out of contract committee. I think once this board's approval, then Mr. Stepp, I think, is ready to accept the contract.
Yes, Ms. Carkey.
There was one clause that was added, or one statement that was added to the contract that was the reason why I did not approve this contract. I thought it was redundant and a bit, I'll be honest, I thought it was a bit mean-spirited. So I did not feel that that needed to be put in the contract, so that's why I did not vote to approve the contract.
Okay. All right.
Are we privy to what you're talking about?
Mr. King?
Are we in discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it should be on there.
I think it will be number D.
D, under 3, under duties, and D.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, Mr. King.
First question I had, it says attitude. How do we know that happens?
Yes.
How do we evaluate that? Are there objective, measurable standards to evaluate?
Exactly.
Ms. Boston, you got an answer for that? 'Cause
No,
I don't.
I think what that says is that you shall foster an attitude of respect among the staff. In other words, you foster that support for the Board of Education. As an elected official, we have that authority, and the director of schools should always foster an attitude of respect. And that's just saying, how you're gonna evaluate it, how you're gonna measure it, you're not. But it's just like, shall devote such time and energies as necessary to perform. How much time is that? How do we evaluate that? It's like any other contract.
Would the word encourage be as acceptable, because that?
Well, foster is encourage. To foster something is to encourage something.
It's never been in the contract.
I'm well aware of, sorry.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an
Mr. Sapp.
example of his historic lesson in which a director of schools not named actually told staff members to keep their mouths shut and don't speak to the board. Okay? That was incredible when I heard about that. I mean, so in lieu of that kind of scenario, then I think that this was a counter to that, saying that the director of schools should foster or encourage good relationships with faculty and with staff and with the board.
Ms. Handy?
And with that, if the director is fostering an attitude of respect and showing that he or she has the respect of the board, then the faculty and staff follow suit. And like I said, and like she said, I don't think that there is an evaluation or a survey or anything that can show you, whether it's being done or not. But it is a standard practice. I mean.
And it's what the board would expect. And instead of it not being on paper, it is now on paper.
I still don't feel comfortable with that, and that's just.
Okay.
It doesn't need a second, it's ready for the.
Yes.
For the
Came out of contract committee, so we don't need a second. Let's see, let me get.
But do you agree with the rest of the contract?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so all in favor, say aye. Oh, hang on. I've got more discussion. I'm sorry. I thought we were ready to vote. I'm sorry, Mr. King.
On that one question, that becomes subjective instead of objective, which is fine. That's what we want. Page 2, item 4. How do we come up with that figure?
Well, that's right, I also didn't agree with the figure either.
Is there a requirement for that amount? Is there a requirement to be over?
No, there's,
Percentage?
no, there's, no, wait a minute, what number are we looking at? Compensation number 4, okay, that's what I thought. No, there is no state requirement. It's just between him and us is whether he accepts it or whether he wants to counter with another offer.
Mr. King, I thought it was low.
Mr. King, there is a state law that says that the director of school has to be the highest paid employee in the school system.
Actually, Mr. Safety, I read in the TSBA journal that there is no requirement that they be the highest paid. Yeah, I was shocked.
Where did we get that?
But I feel that.
I apologize.
Well, I feel that the director of school should be the highest paid. If not, then we got a problem. I'm sorry.
So my question is, how much more? 5%, 2%, $10?
It's at the discretion of the board and Mr. Stepp.
Mr. King, to answer your question, my thought was that we should offer the current salary of the current director, since they're taking that position, but the rest of the committee did not agree.
Okay, Ms. Hamby.
I'm just going to point out that one being Mr. Staff is coming into a position. We have to look at experience, and we have to look at other things that go along with that position. And so we felt, as a committee, I thought we felt, most of us, that was a fair offer to begin with.
Well, I think the contract committee looked at the education. We offered Dr. Maxwell, what was it, 107, 106, 107. And, you know, she has a doctorate. She had some administrative experience. Mr. Stepp is coming in, and I think he has a master's level with an EDS. Am I correct?
EDS, yeah.
Right. And had not been in a central office, had no central office experience. And we thought offering him 107 was very fair. Now, that came out of contract committee. This board can do whatever.
Okay. Has Mr. Stepp agreed to
Yes.
that amount? Okay.
Yes.
All right. That everybody needs to know that.
And there's nothing that precludes us in the future for providing bonuses.
Well, this contract can be amended mutually by written agreement at any time. So if
Okay.
Mr. Stepp comes in and he is doing what we expect that he is going to do, and he's just going to do a bang-up job,
I know you.
there is nothing that says we can't go back next year and go, we'd like to renegotiate your salary.
And
There's
it's
absolutely nothing.
it's been a few days since I've read through the contract. Okay, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a stipulation in there that if the teachers get a pay increase,
He gets all the increases.
he gets the increase.
That, now, he wouldn't get the increase this year.
Right.
So if there's a
It'll
4%.
start after he's been here for a year.
It'll start after he's here next year, yes.
Yes. Okay. I thought that was in there. Okay. All right.
Do I recall that there was also a requested change? Was there another requested change? I
There was-
just want to make sure that was, because I hadn't heard anything.
We did the military, and then where it said, wait just a
Looking
minute.
at 20B,
Yes.
where it says.
But that was just, it says the same thing.
Okay,
So that's the only thing.
okay.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Nothing. We're good.
20B? There's not a 20B on my contract. 21B.
20B.
I'm sorry.
20B. There's a 20B.
20, contract termination, 20B.
My contract says 21, contract termination. So I've got an old.
Okay. then-
I've got the very first version.
Right, so 20B.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Got you.
And it came out of contract with this wording.
Okay.
And that's what we recommend.
I have two more.
Okay, Mr. King.
On pages, I know this is a draft, but pages 3, 4, and 5, they're marked 6. So they should be marked 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Then the other, item 13, talks about a vehicle. Which vehicle?
We own a,
Well, I'm sorry, but I thought that was based on just the pool.
it is, and Mr. Stepp and I discussed that.
Okay.
That if we have a vehicle here and it's, I think it would be under his authority who uses it, whether he uses it or anybody
Yeah.
else.
Okay.
So we certainly have one available.
Yeah, well, I remember back many years ago, there was one purchased for the director of schools. That's been 20
Right.
20 years
And there
ago.
was such an argument in
That
the
was
community.
that was a contention. But Mr. Stepp and I have discussed that. There is a vehicle available to him. There is also an expense account if he uses his own vehicle that he can.
Okay.
Bill
All right, so
has.
this came out of, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. King, or is that all, everything?
I would just ask that we strike the last sentence in 13.
13.
That's the,
Get to it.
Is that on page 6?
One on page 6 is, yeah. Page 3.
Page 3.
All right, number 13.
Yeah, we don't need that sentence. I don't think. It is expressly agreed that the director will use a vehicle owned by the system for travel whenever possible to defray. I'm okay with striking that sentence. What do you think?
Okay, Ms. Boston, do you want to make a recommendation on that?
I'll make a recommendation that we strike the last sentence of number 13.
And I'll second that.
And,
I don't think we
I didn't know if you had to have second,
don't
but I
have to have
seconded it anyway.
well, I don't think Mr. Stepp will mind that either.
No.
I think there's a 26-year-old truck out there.
Yeah.
It
He
looked
might
like a
wanna
Ford
try it.
Explorer.
Yeah.
I think that we have seen
Yes.
out front.
Yes, it was a Ford Explorer. I think it was a 2000 version or something.
And I wasn't even sure what kind of condition it was in.
I wouldn't drive it. And I've not even seen it.
Mr. King says it's 2005, and
2005?
And-
Okay.
the value's going up every day.
That's right.
Okay. All right, so this came out of contract, so we're gonna vote on the wording that is in the contract that you have seen up here with the striking of the last sentence in number 13.
In number 13, yes.
Okay?
And the correct numbering on the pages.
And the correct numbering of the pages.
Yes.
Okay?
I don't think that affects the content.
No. But, well, mine's all numbered right, because like I said, it's an old version. So, but anyway. All right. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, Ms. Carkey is a no, and everybody else is a yes, so it passes.
Okay, if I might
Yes.
take just a moment. Mr. Stepp, is it my understanding that according to the way this was written and we discussed that you do accept this contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Welcome.
we have a new director of schools.
Yeah. Mr. Stepp, do you want to say anything while we're on the subject? If not, that's fine.
It was fun a couple of weeks ago on Saturday to meet y'all and get to enjoy Cumberland County again, but thank you and look forward to moving forward.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't get to be there, but I look forward to meeting you.
Okay, I've lost my place here.
We're now ready for chief financial report. Number 17.
I've lost my papers here somehow or another. No, this is, I don't know what I've done. Okay, anyway, Ms. Casey, it's up, you're on.
Thank you, thank you. We will start with our summary financial report. You can see in March that we recognized about $4.9 million in revenues.
for a year-to-date total of slightly over 45 million against our budget of 56.6. So we're in good shape there. Are there any questions? Looking at expenditures, in March, we spent about 4.4 million for a year-to-date total of 37.8 million against our budget of about 60 million. So any questions there? Okay. So at 3:30 this afternoon, I did receive the sales tax report. So I have some printed copies if you want to pass those. Just the highlights of that, we are continuing on a very positive trend. So the April numbers, which just as a reminder are cash registers in February, we actually received $999,451 against a budget of almost $860,000. So another month of surplus is there, bringing the yearly surplus to date to $858,597. So please continue to shop local. That definitely benefits us. Are there any questions on the sales tax report? Okay. Next up, we have, I believe we have 3 general purpose school fund budget amendments. I would be happy to go over them individually or take any questions that you might have.
I move to approve all 3 as presented.
Second.
Okay, now, it's all 3 on budget 141?
41, yes, sir.
Okay, so we're just doing 141 right now. Okay, all right. We've got a motion and a second. I know this will be a roll call vote. This is on 141 amendment, okay? Mr. Safety?
Yes.
Ms. Paris?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
Ms. Boston?
Yes.
Ms. Cargy?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Okay?
Right, next we have our 142 federal fund budget amendments. There are also 3 of those. We have our federal staff here. We would be happy to go over individually or answer any questions.
Move to approve all 3.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion by Mr. Cargy and a second by Mr. King. Any discussion? All right, now we'll roll call. We'll start at the bottom. Ms. Cargy? Yes, Ms. Cargy.
Yes.
Ms. Boston?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Ms. Paris?
Yes.
Mr. Safety?
Aye.
And chair votes yes.
Thank you
Motion
very
carries.
much.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Okay, you beat me to it.
I did.
Okay. All right, got a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Got a second? Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is, let me get there. Old business. Okay, so now, I'll bring up old business for the Director of Schools evaluation. I make a motion that we dispense with the Director of Schools evaluation, just because she's retiring, and I just don't see the point in putting forth the effort.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I think that we ought to go ahead with the evaluation because I feel like maybe Dr. Maxwell would just like to see good job that we think she's been doing.
Or we could send her flowers.
I would ask her and put her on the spot, but I'm not going to do that
Yeah.
because I know what she's going to say. I serve at the pleasure of the board. Okay. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right.
I would just like to know that it's not going to impact our Board of Distinction.
It shouldn't, because you'll start a new
22-23.
22-23, and those board members that are here can work on the Board of Distinction to get that back.
Very good.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
What was the, back up. What was the motion? Not to
Do
evaluate?
not do the evaluation because she's retiring.
I'll oppose that.
Okay.
So one opposed.
One opposed. Okay. Okay, and so that motion carries. And one of our student representatives has come in, and thank you for being here. I believe that's Miss Sophie Turner. And I think Dr. Maxwell's got a presentation for you, dear.
So, join me please down here. Sophie, we wanted to recognize you for being a very diligent student representative. You have carried out the expectations greatly. We are so proud of you. We hope this is something you can take with you to remember your graduation, but also take you on to your next adventures. And would you be willing to tell everyone a little bit about what your next adventure is going to be?
Sure thing. Picture first.
Thank you.
So I've been accepted into the Honors College at the University of Alabama. And and I plan to major in political science, and I hope to go to law school there one day.
Very good.
I appreciate it.
Is that legal advice or?
Don't do it, don't do it, no.
Mr. Andrew?
Yes, Mr. Safety.
I got just, under special recognition, I've been really interested in how our director has recognized individual students. Thank you so much for giving our students that attention. But I also would like to point out that I've really never seen anything like this before. Have you seen the booklet that the Crossville Chronicle published highlighting our students? It's just an incredible 8x11 multiple page document that shows students' awards and all of the wonderful activities that have occurred over the past, I guess, year or month. So I would like to say thank you, Crossville Chronicle.
And are you referring to the glossy publication that was an insert paper?
You want to,
Outstanding.
and then the
Yes.
and then the intersection, the section B, constantly has all of the sports and all the activities that our students do.
Yes.
Just incredible, and it's consistent. I mean, every issue there's something.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Heather. We appreciate it. Tell everybody at the Chronicle how much we appreciate you. Thank you. All right, speaking
Motion
of,
to adjourn.
no, we've still got one more.
Oh,
I don't have questions.
Questions?
no.
Okay.
Come on, give us a question.
All right.
I'm done, we gotta go.
All right. All right, Miss Boston.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hang around. Once again, thank you, everybody, for being here. And, thank you, Mr. Stepp, for being here.